Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be talking about the book that I'm currently reading, part of my TBR pile, and book haul. I have a small book haul. These are books I've purchased the last 2 weeks and they're all secondhand books from Shopee. They're also repurchases, books I've already read in the past. I'm trying to rebuild my bookshelf, my book collection. I'm not gonna buy everything. I'm just going to buy the books that I actually enjoyed reading. And if it's a series, I'm not gonna buy all of the books. I'm just going to buy maybe the first book or specific books in the series that I actually enjoyed. The current book that I'm reading is a classic book. This is Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux or Leroux or Leroux. I have no idea. It's in French. First of all, I like the minimalistic cover. I love the single rose and the texture of this edition. I just love touching it and feeling it and caressing it, and it's a weird fetish, but this is a book about, it's a horror story. It's about Eric, who is the opera ghost, but he's not really a ghost. He's an actual person who lives under the opera house through secret passages, and he falls in love with this artist called Christine, and he entraps her with his spell while she just wants to get out. She finds connection with an old flame, so that makes a conflict between the three of them. I'm currently on page 162. Just a few more pages and I'm done with this book. I plan to read this till the end of the week. Hopefully I'll put out a book review by next week. So far I'm loving it. I'm not exactly obsessed with it, but it's a really good book. The writing style is different and it's just, anyway, I'm gonna be talking about this book once I'm done with it and just give my in-depth thoughts. I'll be uploading a YouTube video by next week, and of course it's going to be on Goodreads as well if you want to read it there. I actually haven't seen Phantom of the Opera, either the movie, the play, the opera, the musical. I haven't seen one, so I have no idea what this book was about until recently, since I started reading it. Now I have my TBR pile. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 books lined up. Let's start with this tiny book right here. This is a poetry book. I'm trying to read classic poetry, so I started with Emily Dickinson. This is what I found on Shopee, and it's just a compilation of her poems, including one of her famous poems, which is the title of this book as well. I'm Nobody, Who Are You? I really like that poem, and so that's the reason why I decided to read more from her. I started reading this book already, as you can see by the bookmark. I'm trying to read this when, like, in between novels, so I can finish it eventually. But I'm gonna read you a favorite poem of mine that she wrote, part of this collection. I put a mark right next to the poems so I know which ones I loved. This one is, okay, here goes. If recollecting were forgetting, then I remember not. And if forgetting, recollecting how near I had forgot. And if to miss were merry, and if to mourn were gay, how very blithe the fingers that gathered these today. So yeah, that's just one of the few that I've already enjoyed. So far, it's challenging to read classic poetry, but definitely enjoying the journey. Again, if I do finish it, I'll be uploading a review here or on Goodreads. The next book is another tiny book, another classic. This is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, or Hesse. I actually don't know what this is about, but I heard it won a Nobel Prize. This is one of Hermann Hesse's most famous work. I actually know the author because I read a book by him called Damien last year. when I became a BTS ARMY. The book Damien is a big influence on the song Blood, Sweat and Tears by BTS. I was just really amazed at how BTS can connect literature to their music, and they do that a lot. And that made me really dive deeper into their catalog, in their discography, and that just made me a fan and solidified me being a fan. The artistry of BTS and their impact and influence in just giving highlight to literature and art and philosophy in general. I really loved Damien, except for the taboo part, so I'm really excited to see what this one has to offer. I think this is gonna be about finding yourself and in the end just gaining wisdom. So I'm really excited. I like books that I can learn from. The next book is also part of the haul. This is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I also got this just this week actually. This is a secondhand book from Shopee. As you can see, it has a lot of tabs and highlights from the previous owner. I like buying secondhand books because I just feel like I'm part of history. I just feel like I'm learning a person. I'm getting to know a person through their highlights, through their annotations, just how they take care of their books. Like for this one, I can tell that the previous owner loves reading because it's covered in plastic and it's just maintained in a very good quality. I heard Jane Eyre is a well-loved classic book. I'm really excited to see what this book is about. I'm entering in blind. It's a little bit thicker than the usual classic books that I read, so I can bet you it's going to be challenging for me. The next book is a memoir. This is Educated by Tara Westover. This is recommended by Bill Gates, and that's the reason why I bought it. However, I actually started reading this book. I reached until page 77 till I stopped because honestly I found it too boring at the beginning. But I plan to dive back in because I'm sure there is definitely something with this book that is amazing and I'm really looking forward to it. Bill Gates definitely recommended it for a reason, so I want to find out the reason. Maybe towards the middle, going to the end, I'll realize that. I really have high hopes with this book. A lot of people love this book as well. I don't really read memoirs. This is my first memoir. I guess I didn't know what I was getting into. I was expecting adventure, but it was more like just storytelling, personal storytelling. Hopefully I finish this month or at least by the end of the year. The next book is non-fiction. This is What If by Randall Munroe. This is really out of my comfort zone. This is a compilation of questions and answers, and it's very scientific. I haven't started this yet. I just haven't found the right mood. I actually scanned the pages. It is pretty interesting. It's like reading a textbook, but more direct to the point. It actually says here on top, serious scientific answers to absurd hypothetical questions. It's also very witty because it has drawings and stuff, so it'll pick my interest for sure. This book is unfortunate because I started reading this book and then my dogs managed to get their paws into it and it ended up looking like this. Like, toward this part. I tried to salvage it and put a plastic cover so at least it's intact. I had high expectations with this book. When I bought this book, I was really excited to read it, but soon I realized that it's written by one author, which wasn't what I was expecting because I thought this is going to be a collection of essays from different authors, different topics, and different themes. But when I started reading this book, I realized shortly after that it's written by one author, and after like 20 essays, I got really bored because it seemed very repetitive and the themes are very similar. That part threw me off. I don't know if I'll finish this book. It gives off like a blog type of writing. It's like a journal published into a book. It's still very cool, like listening to an older sister give advice. It's still like a very light read, so maybe if I run out of books to read, I'll finish this one. The next book on my TBR pile is a very old one that I bought. It's called Jane Unlimited by Christine Cashore. She wrote one of my favorite fantasy books, which is Graceling. This is YA. It's been a while since I've read a YA book. I recently published my own YA book, so it's quite ironic that I'm not into YA anymore. So anyway, Jane Unlimited. The next 3 books are the repurchases that I was talking about earlier in the video. These are all part of a series. The first book is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the first book from the Divergent trilogy. I read Divergent around the time when the movie came out, and I remembered enjoying the first book, this book, and then it went downhill from there, especially with the last book. I really have a love-hate relationship with that one. It's one of the worst conclusion to a series that I've read after maybe City of Heavenly Fire from the Immortal Instrument series. I have a review on Goodreads on Allegiant. It's an unpopular opinion. It's also very controversial, but very interesting. I should revisit that and reread that because I don't know if I'll think the same way, but I definitely did when I read this. I was a teenager. So the next book is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is the first book from the trilogy. I actually just remember the blue hair, the main character's blue hair. That really stuck to me. I love this first book, but I don't remember really what happened in the second and third book. Hence, I'm not buying the rest of the series and just keeping the first book. This is about angels and demons and forbidden love. It's a fantasy book. It's unique. The cover is very pretty as well. This is one of my favorite covers. I just love this color. And then the last book is Eon, Dragon Eye Reborn by Alison Goodman. This is part of a duology. I have the second book in paperback. I managed to save that from the catastrophe that is my old book collection. I found this hard copy from Shopee. I actually wanted my 2 books to match because my second book is in paperback. That way it would look aesthetic on my bookshelf. But I couldn't find a copy of Eon in paperback anywhere, which is secondhand as well. So I just bought this one. At least I have the 2 books now, and I can finally reread it because this is one of my favorite fantasy YA books. This, along with Graceling, are the 2 books that I recommend. They're very, very good. Like, this is a recommendation that I wouldn't be embarrassed about. This and Graceling. Those 2 books. I'm also planning to repurchase Graceling because I lost my copy as well. But I talked to the seller online and she is out of town. She'll get back to me when she's finally back in the city. So that is pretty much everything from my book haul and my TBR pile. Now I'm just gonna make a thumbnail. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is heavy.